All right, lads. I'll give you Blackbeard's honest opinion. You ask me, can this new captain promise you a life of prizes, plunder, and adventure? Aye.
For amongst all the gentlemen of fortune sailing these West Indies, he ranks amongst the most clever. There was a time when I thought myself the deadliest scourge of these seas. But this man is a fearsome dog that feeds off trouble and turmoil. I seen him clear the deck of a Spanish galleon like it were nothing. Fighting like a devil, dressed as a man. And he's a canny one. Knows his way round every crag and crevice of these islands. So if it's fortune and adventure you seek, then Captain Edward Kenway's your man. Only, don't meddle in his private affairs. For there's more mystery to that man than even I dare ask.
All right, lads. I'll give you Blackbeard's honest opinion. You ask me, can this new captain promise you a life of prizes, plunder, and adventure? Aye.
For amongst all the gentlemen of fortune sailing these West Indies, he ranks amongst the most clever. There was a time when I thought myself the deadliest scourge of these seas. But this man is a fearsome dog that feeds off trouble and turmoil. I seen him clear the deck of a Spanish galleon like it were nothing. Fighting like a devil, dressed as a man. And he's a canny one. Knows his way round every crag and crevice of these islands. So if it's fortune and adventure you seek, then Captain Edward Kenway's your man. Only, don't meddle in his private affairs. For there's more mystery to that man than even I dare ask.
My bad. Wrong game. Let's first start off by Maturity.
Let them have it.
Paid to dispatch you. To be honest, the task you judge surely smiles upon you.
Beautiful. Another codex page. Yes. Yet another codex page.
Come, friends. Whatever your artistic desire.
Il campione approach.
Only the best of raiment here, friends. Silks and clothes of finest weave. Bella vista. Che pezzo di... Bellezza! E dai, faccele vedere! Ehi, che bella vergogna!
Damn. So poison does.
Quite a few different accessories too. Things you may not know you need.
This is like, oh shit. There's an assassin too. There's 2 memories that we can do.
Truly, I am blessed this day. 2 new artists of rare talent.
Torre Grossa. Let's go. Oh boy. Alright, infiltrate Torre Grossa and find the assassin seal hidden within. Let's do it. I think it'll be okay.
Laju, where do you think you're... Eccolo! Hurry, get him! Come, sir. Just a quick word. A moment of your time. There! Sure, you don't. We'll start with flames, and a little lamentation. There he is! Where did he go? Not you! Ha! You will.
Eccolo! Out of the way, you idiots! He will scream like a little girl while we flay him.
What's this? Martyrs. Tsar Nicholas to Russia. What piece did I find? John of Arc. Brandon John alive? Shit.
Without the staff, the Tsar
So,
powerless. He could no longer control his subjects. Revolution! Revolution!
very nice.
Start the attack, ladies. By order of the Honorable Council of Florence, the time...
Kennedy.
Salute, Ezio! Antonio Maffei has sought refuge atop the city's tallest structure, spouting scripture and arrows in equal measure. The man has clearly lost his mind. Making matters worse, he's posted archers all around him. You do well to clear them out before approaching.
Grazie for the information.
To the plan this right now. Not sure if I do that just yet. Check somebody else real quick.
Come, people. I have scores of new works from exciting young artists. Come, friends. The new minds are making... Ciao, signore. E mention me to your amici.
Che magnifique.
Has he been drinking?
Another machinery.
About time we got here. We found Bernardo Baroncelli.
Ottima notizia. Tell me where he is and I'll see that he's dealt with.
That's the trap. Lorenzo actually had him arrested days ago, after being returned to us from Constantinople. But he escaped. We believe him to be somewhere inside San Gimignano.
Va bene. I'll see if I can't pin him down.
How do you expect to succeed where the rest of us have failed?
I have my ways.
take things one day at a time. He'll get bored, lost, confused, distracted, killed. It'll be okay. And if he does come, if it happens, I keep moving. Never in one place for long. Only how to sleep, when to sleep, where to sleep. The guard tower, perhaps. They'll think me mad. They don't know. I'll pay them, yes. Then what will it matter? Or they care about this coin, or anyone cares about this coin. Good for the Brotherhood, good for me. It's safer this way, yes. Yes, I'll ask, and then I will be protected. We'll meet when it's time. And I'll leave this place. Free. In time. In time. Wait, what is that? I saw something. Another mercenario come to spy you. No. Just my nerves. Hard to stay calm knowing that he sees. I must stay focused, and soon this will be done. Soon.
Our illustrious city watch will be overrun by Plundering Saxons and Leo the Dancing Lord.
I
Down
knew
with
you
the
would
count.
come.
Where is Jacopo?
So you can do to him what you've done to me?
There is still time for you to clear your conscience.
We gather at the church when a meeting is called.
Mi duole dover giungere a tanto. Requiescat in pace.
Davvero, it is almost criminal to pass by without looking at my fantastic wares.
Alright, sorry about that.
can't do that.
What are you afraid of?
Leave me be.
Surely promised January finds you those most deserving, yes?
Oh, hell. Just want to be quiet.
Careful, please, giovanissimi. Ma che fai?
Merda. What's got into you?
You have disappointed me, Messer. I tend to get violent when I'm disappointed, so...
Once more, you... Capito? Hey, stronzo! What? Pathetic stranieri! Giustizia, giustizia! In your name come this day!
One of the Bazzi's benefactors to a farm due east of San Gimignano. Let's go take care of him. Oops.
Another lunatic.
Hey, amico. Misericordia. No, please, don't kill me.
Bam! Easy peasy.
Did you see what happened? I have 4 murders and 2 robs. But it's unresolved. Perhaps if I remove your tongue and say you are...
Is that better for you, gentlemen?
You deserve to join your victim in death, foul creature!
Fight back! How dare you! That's inhuman! Honesty! Ezio?
Thank you for your money. There's another one? I thought I already got him though.
Look at him. You'll break his neck.
Come and get your red hot art fresh up.
There he is. There. I can't see him anymore. What are you using us now? Gas? Sorry, I meant to be I
Your mama can't help you this time.
You will die, Werner.
Hurry up. Non ce la fai a colpirmi, eh?
I will feel the skin from you.
Nice view for a girl.
Go back down, or I shoot. You're not allowed up here. Leave.
Salute, Ezio. Antonio Maffei has sought refuge atop the city's tallest structure, spouting scripture and arrows in equal measure. The man has clearly lost his mind. Making matters worse, he's posted archers all around him. You do well to clear them out before approaching.
Grazie for the information.
Alright. Assassinate Antonio Maffei. Top of tower. Only have 4 throwing knives, so I better make him.
Citizens of San Gimignano.
Oh, Gimignano.
My word. You must repent. Repent and seek forgiveness. For your wicked ways have turned the wrath of a demon. Summoned by your sin, he now walks our world, cloaked in shadow and darkness. And everywhere he treads, death follows. Why, you ask? Because you have strayed and sacrificed your liberty to that wretch, Lorenzo de Medici. You are puppets, enslaved by purse strings, won over by poisonous words. You have lost your virtue. You have lost your dignity. You have lost your faith. And this draws the demons in to feed. And feed they will. All whilst you wander, lost in ignorance. Know that good men have died protecting you from his evils. Join me in prayer, my children, so that together we might stand against this darkness. Give ear, O heavens, and I will speak. And hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. Let my teaching drop as the rain, my speech distill as the dew, as raindrops on the tender herb, and as showers on the grass. For I proclaim the name of the Lord. Ascribe greatness to our God. By the light of the Lord, be cleansed.
No. Grazie.
I will put you on your knees, sinner.
You would enjoy that, wouldn't you?
Damn, son.
Away with you, demon.
Have some respect for death, my friend.
I'll show you respect.
No. I will. Che tu possa al fine trovare riposo. Corpo e nella mente. Requiescat in pace.
Damn. That execution was sick as fuck.
Jacopo di Pazzi, the money.
I forgot. Hey. Good shit.
I recent good fortune fight.
Oh yeah, I could have filled them.
Ciao, signore. E mention me to your amici.
No need to be shy. Come forward.
Perfect.
You should feel better now. Take care.
Oh, didn't spot that in the way.
Get down, or you belong down below with the rat.
Is he in pain?
Damn, that would be a horse there for me to take. Oh, so look at that.
Over here, Ezio. We found Archbishop Salviati. He's barricaded himself inside that villa. Take some of my men. Use them to clear the fields. Then find a way over the wall so you can open the gates.
Command over my own army. A nice change of pace from the usual sneaking and stabbing. I like it.
Hello. How are you doing tonight? Behind closed doors, with the help of Mario's mercenaries subdue the Villa Guards and kill Francesco Salviati. Let's do it.
Lead on.
I see you there, assassin. These walls have stood for 100 years, and will stand for 100 more. Stop! Wasting lives of your men. Stop! But then, here. All of the waste you hear is dead. Turn back.
What? Probably really loud. Oh god. Oh, I don't have any smoke bombs? I thought I bought some! Fuck. Damn, good shit, Ezio. See that? It's like pop, pop, and then slice your throat, bitch!
You earned it.
Damn. Can I get my throne knives back? Oh, yes I can. Alright. Way more than I asked for, but I mean, I'm not complaining. How's your day been today? Did you have a good day? What?
What you did to my sister, figlio di puttana!
Get him.
Men, prepare yourselves. The assassin has arrived.
I need to find a way to open the gates.
We got this.
I warned you to stay away, assassin. You should have listened.
I'll send you to your grave! Don't lose
Sure about that? So much for that. Who's sending who to whose grave? Only 5 florins. Why any smoke bombs? I could have sworn I bought some. Needed to just take care of that big dude. Armor.
Finished, assassin! Do you hear me? Finished! You Templars, always singing the same song. Do you think a few mercenary will scare me? Ah! They should. Shall I send your remains to that Ubriacone, Mario? What's the point? There won't be anything left of you to recognize. It's quite a plan you have. Spouting nonsense while you send these other men to die. What say you to this? Turn back now and I'll call off my men. Sorry, hell with that. Tear him limb from limb. Let us paint the walls with his blood. There's no way to treat the guests. What is this? Guard! Head looks heavy. Riesci a sentirmi da lì dentro? Hey, Batman! Kill him! Hey, Grasson! Sei bello in carne, non c'è che dire. Ti manca il fiato, grassone. Where is Jacopo? He knows you
wouldn't have been able to talk if he got killed like that.
Only in darkness to meet with the others. That answers when. Now tell me where. La fede dovrebbe dare conforto. Non pena. Requiescat in pace.
Brother, as you've no doubt heard by now, he hunts us in search of retribution. We should never have consented, never have conspired. But what's done is done. And so, I have called a meeting with Maestro 3 nights from now to ask for sanctuary, either in Venezia or with him or in Roma. We will assemble at the church in San Gimignano and travel to the meeting location at the appointed hour. I urge you to attend. Remaining here would be suicide. The assassin is relentless. We cannot hope to stop him on our own. But perhaps, aided by Maestro, we might buy ourselves the time to form a proper response. Guard yourself well. Firenze may be lost to us, but it does not have to mean our end. May the Father of Understanding guide you. Your brother, Jacopo.
I finally got the smoke bombs. Took a while, but Jeez. Where's a horse? I need a horse. Let's go. Out of the way. I was like, wait, is there a beep? Any beep?
When you break the rules, we break you. You will not get away. Please away. I've quite a few different accessories too. Things you may not know you need. Where is he from? I'm with you, ragazzo.
Shit.
No way you'll get through here.
Nice boots. Eccolo. Get him. You're mine. Get down.
Perfect. Oh, no, no, no! Please, I don't have any florins to give you, sir.
There. On him.
Cuts.
Losing him.
Sorry, sir. There you go.
Notice from the guild of brother nations and scholars. This hero's luck will hold me pray and win.
That's a funny outfit. I thought it was half tonight.
I got away.
Laggiù! Cazzo fastro!
Such unbelievable prices I have for you, stimati clienti. You will say I am quite pazzo.
Stronzo! I'm with you, fratello!
What? I mean, reconnect my controller for disconnected. What? What's going on?
Chiudiamo questa faccenda.
On him!
Shit.
Better for you to die cleanly now.
What the fuck? No.
Just let me go! I'm nobody! Not important!
It'll be okay. Come on, come on. Friends like these, tell Jacopo the Pazzi to the Templar meeting, then assassinate him. Let's do it!
If I can stay my blade long enough to follow him, he'll lead me to his Templar brothers. I'll have more names for my list. What's going on here? Are they late? They haven't seen me, this much I know.
Ezio, come on.
What? You damned contadini saw this little accident occur! I want to know all about it, ora! Oh! I would you there! Hold a moment! No, not here! On the other.
What are you and the others planning, Jacopo?
You are not allowed up for it!
He's after someone's blood.
I've got to get out of here!
It's like, I gotta get out of here, and then he just keeps on going. Well done, Jacopo. Well done.
Bene. Al lavoro. After you.
The traitor ran from the field at Verona. Many of my brothers died.
I've seen you running on!
Snowball.
Your letter mentioned Venezia. Are there Templars there as well?
Just wanted a quiet day. One quiet day.
As you value your life, run!
Fuck. Ah, where I meant to go.
Keep them busy. Very angry. He sent me to say, "Cha."
Oh shit.
Yes, yes, come on, bravo. Hey, you make it look easy.
What, hopping into a bunch of cars?
Just let me alone. I'm nobody. Leave me alone. Someone fetch the priest. They require extreme action. Prayers all yours. Wait till I get my hands on them. I am a sick cat, pinned for king. Lord's life is all.
I don't know why the game's glitched now. Or he's glitched. There you go.
How many men are responsible for my father's death?
Rodrigo.
I'm sorry, Maestro. I did all I could, but the assassin proved too strong.
Clearly. Else the others would be here with you. Say nothing of the fact that Firenze remains in Medici hands.
It's Francesco's fault. His impatience made him reckless. I tried to be the voice of reason.
More like the voice of cowardice.
You're one to talk, Signor Barbarigo. Had you sent us quality weapons instead of this garbage you Venetians call armament?
We put our faith in your family, and you repay us with inaction and incompetence? Then when asked to account for your failures, you make excuses and insult us? How do you expect me to respond?
I don't know.
It's all right. I do.
No. Please. Don't.
Please don't what?
I can fix this. Only spare me.
So sorry to have claimed your prize, assassin. Did you honestly think I wouldn't expect you to follow? That I didn't plan for it? We've been at this a lot longer than you. Kill him.
I know you're only doing as you're told. So if you release me, I will spare your lives.
Ha! Listen to this! Ah! His day is your last.
What are you waiting?
Vai, amico. Libero da fardelli e paure. Requiesca di pace.
Damn, to think he'd still be alive after getting pierced through the throat with that sword. Jesus. Damn. I'll be right back. I didn't get a chance to interact with the glyph. Sorry. Okay, I think we saved here, so we should be good for now. So let's say we do a little bit of just chatting in the meantime. You guys ready to watch another King Cobra video? I know I am! Not! But, you know, I figured why the hell not, dude? Whoa. When a millionaire begs. I mean, what do you expect? People that have everything always beg for shit. Let's see. Oh god. What if you swam in Titan's lakes for 5 seconds? What?
Titan. The most majestic of Saturn's many moons. And the most promising for life, too. It's got a beautiful view and liquid lakes on its surface. The only problem is, those lakes aren't filled with water. They're filled with liquid methane. Your mission is to take a 5-second dip in one of them. Of course, you'd have to land on Titan first, so buckle up for the most epic adventure of your lifetime. Titan is far. Even at its closest to Earth, this icy moon is still 1.2 billion kilometers away from us. You'd be looking at roughly 7 years of travel alone in a spaceship. You'd need lots of provisions and a super advanced life support system. You know, it would be good if you made it to Titan and didn't freeze or suffocate somewhere in the middle of the solar system. Yeah, that's not going to happen to you. Just sit back and enjoy the ride. Seeing Saturn up close is amazing. Definitely the most spectacular of all the ringed planets in the solar system, but hey, enough sightseeing, it's time to make your way to your destination. Titan is unique in many ways. For one, it's larger than our moon. It's even bigger than Mercury, the smallest planet in our cosmic neighborhood. It's the only moon that has a thick atmosphere. It's also the only one that's covered in liquid lakes, rivers, and seas. And sometimes it rains here too. Descending on Titan would take you about 2.5 hours, and you couldn't just land anywhere. Like I say, Titan is covered in lakes, so unless you wanted to dip your entire spacecraft in liquid methane, you better choose your landing site carefully. Let's try this again. Okay, now that you've properly landed on Titan, let's go explore this icy world. This moon of Saturn might look a lot like Venus, but it's not as hellishly hot. Titan is one of the most hospitable places in the solar system. Yeah, its gravity is only 14% of Earth's, but its thicker atmosphere makes it possible for you to walk there even without a spacesuit. But I wouldn't recommend that. You'd need the spacesuit to keep you warm. Titan is very far away from the sun, so it doesn't receive as much warmth as we do here on Earth. You'd be taking a brisk stroll at a chilling minus 180 degrees Celsius. Well, you wouldn't exactly be strolling. More like bouncing around. Yeah, thanks to Titan's weaker gravity, you'd feel a lot lighter and could jump higher and move with less effort. Now, Titan's atmosphere is mostly nitrogen, very similar to Earth's, but you still couldn't breathe on this moon because, well, that's where the similarity ends.
Mexican Cobra 2015. Let's go.
So last video I got a couple of comments saying, put her on camera, put her on camera. I just wasn't looking to be on camera, you know, I ain't gonna harm.
No. Yeah, hold on. What's that one channel I used to watch? There you go. This is crazy. Was it this one? No, I don't think it was this one. Damn it. I thought that was it. Well, I mean, I'm kind of just done with what I'm eating, so. What? What? Oh yeah, he made a wine.
Donate money to my PayPal. No one's forcing you, dude. Ricky, thank you for your donation of 30 cents to PayPal. Shout out to Ian.
That's his newest thing that he's doing, by the way, is that he's making quote unquote wine. Wait, what?
Shout out to Paul and his wife Carla. Also, their good friend Christian and Leslie. Fuck sickos. Amen, Warren. Thank you for that. Fuck sickos.
Paul Bernardo and Carlo Homopla. Two of the worst serial killers in Canadian history. Kristen and Leslie were just two of the many victims these monsters tortured and killed between 1991 and 1992. They were only 15 years old. Cobra shouting out sickos again. Of course, because Cobra doesn't know any better. Because Cobra's... Oh, wait, now I know what I want to watch. Because Cobra's a very smart lad. Very smart lad, you know? Alright, Ah, here you go.
On June 3rd, 2004, a man identified as 26-year-old Brett Carlson went on a stabbing spree in Cook County, Illinois. It was around 5 in the evening when the stabbing started. A witness named Bob Stalack said he was just pulling up the parking lot of the shopping center when he saw a man run out of the Walgreens drugstore with what looked like a Bowie knife with a 6-inch blade. He said he saw the man stab one woman before he approached a mother and her 1-year-old child. He began stabbing the mother and the baby repeatedly. He stabbed the baby 3 times in the back, Stalack said. People were screaming. and the mother was saying, "My baby was stabbed, my baby was stabbed." Police said there was no known relation between the man and the people he attacked. He approached people at random. In some cases, he demanded that they hand over their car keys, and then he attacked them. Midlothian Police Deputy Chief Fred Kozik said, "He walked up to somebody in the parking lot, talked to him for a minute, then stabbed him. He ran away, walked up to somebody else, and stabbed that person too." Carlson's rampage went on until a young man who recently arrived from Thailand, 18-year-old Suparak Ratena Narkin, ran up behind him and clubbed him in the head with a red flashlight. He then subdued the crazed man until police arrived. A witness named Carrie Taylor ran out of the hair salon she owned and tried to wrap the baby's wounds with towels. "We were trying to keep her awake," Taylor said. There was blood coming out of her mouth. The 1-year-old was later identified as Ashley Hurt. Ashley was taken to Advocate South Suburban Hospital, where she died around 6:10 p.m. The other 4 victims were taken to nearby hospitals. They were not identified, and police declined to comment on their conditions, but they were not life-threatening. Brett Carlson is currently at Statesville Correctional Center for murder, attempted murder, and intent to injure. He was sentenced to 50 years in prison in 2007. His projected release date is May 15th, 2057.
Jesus, dude. I was gonna put, like, see, okay, there's these other ones, like Jason Brown the Dog Killer. That one's really crazy. There's also, oh yeah, we saw this one. There's also, yeah, this one's really crazy too. Jeez. A lot of these, it actually shows what happens. So that's how, like, you know. Yeah, Charles Allen Jr. The Walter Collins story is pretty creepy, to be honest. This one I can't show. This one is just too crazy. This one is really gnarly too. Oh my god. Yeah, Hartford Circus Fire.
The Hartford Circus Fire occurred on July 6, 1944, during a Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey circus performance in Hartford, Connecticut.
Pretty sure he had the crash.
The tragedy took the lives of 167 to 169 people and left more than 700 injured. It is considered one of the worst fires in U.S. history. On the day of the fire, the circus attendance was said to be between 6,000 to 8,000 people, mostly women and children. The cause of the fire is unknown, but back in those days it was common to waterproof the circus tent with a paraffin wax that had been dissolved in gasoline. This caused the flames to spread rapidly, and within 8 minutes, the burning tent collapsed, trapping hundreds of spectators beneath it.
Jesus.
As panic ensued, people flooded to the exits, but 2 of them were blocked by chutes that were used to bring the big cats in and out of the tent. This left 2 exits open that were jammed with people who began to pile up on each other. Most of the victims died from burns or smoke inhalation, but some were trampled to death, and others died suffocating under piles of bodies. More lives were lost as people began jumping from the bleachers in hopes they could escape through the sides of the tent. Many were also burned by the paraffin wax that began raining down from the ceiling. 6 years after the fire, a man named Robert Dale Segee, who was serving a 40-year sentence for arson, claimed he was responsible for setting the circus fire after he had a nightmare about an Indian riding a flaming horse that told him to set fires. However, no evidence could be linked to the convict, and Robert Segee later recanted his confession. The circus accepted responsibility for financial damages and paid out almost $5 million to the 600 victims and families who filed claims against them. 5 officials and employees of Ringling Brothers Circus were charged with involuntary manslaughter. 4 were convicted. Although they were given prison terms, the 4 men found guilty were allowed to continue with the circus to their next stop to help the company set itself up again after the disaster. Shortly after the convictions, they were pardoned entirely. One of the men, James A. Haley, went on to serve in the U.S. House of Representatives for 24 years.
The hell? How? Ay, ay, ay. This one's crazy too. A lot of these are really. Oof. This one is really bad. I guess I could put Jason Brown because he's only like 3 minutes or so. But
Jason Brown, a 20.
This dude is like pure evil. Like, look at his fucking eyes, dude. Like, oh my god.
25-year-old man from Reno, Nevada, was sentenced to 28 years in prison on October 1st, 2015, for torturing and murdering 7 puppies and dogs he got on Craigslist and making snuff films out of his axe. Back when he was in school, Jason was not only a presidential scholar, but also majored in psychology. However, despite these promising aspects, he had a heavy drug problem with heroin, methamphetamine, and cocaine. While in court, Brown made an apology stating that he was not himself and didn't remember the 4 to 6 week period when he had been injecting all these drugs. He told the judge that he respects animals and had never heard any before. I cannot explain the grief I felt for this horrible situation.
What a
Brown
bullshit
said.
lie, dude.
I no longer had control of myself. It's sickening to hear these things and realize it's me. Jason was arrested at a Super 8 motel on July 14th when an employee discovered the bloody scene in the room he had been using to torture the dogs. An animal control officer who arrived at the scene testified in court that she had found headless and legless dogs in a bathtub and the heads and legs in the mini motel refrigerator. The videos he produced, which were shown to the judge, detective, and lawyers in court, revealed the sounds of horrific yelps and screams of dogs as he skinned and cut them up, and the sound of him clanging knives together, sometimes quickly, other times in a rhythmic manner. Brown himself took 2 videos and had friends with him who had recorded his videos on their own cell phones. While the rest of the gallery in court could not view the images of the recordings, witnesses testifying in court could hear the audio of the gruesome acts, as well as the dialogue spoken from Brown and his friends. The witnesses who sold the dogs were crying at the sound of the videos. "I'm making a jacket out of them," Brown said. One friend told Brown that if he gets caught, he could go to prison for like 4 years for animal abuse. "If you go to a jury, oh God," a friend said. The jury people would show up at the trial with their service dogs and they'd be crying. Brown is heard explaining how he would go to Craigslist and look for ads that said pets free. "The little white chihuahuas are my favorite. If I get one of those, they are coming to Jason's house of pain," he said. Pugs, instead of barking, pugs sound like humans, like little kids. They yell. He then proceeded to mimic the noise. "Let me show you," he said.
This dude is so
"Want me to get
fucking
one
sick,
tonight?"
man.
The people who sold Brown the dogs said he seemed completely normal and clean-cut when he responded to their ads on Craigslist. One witness said she had sold Brown a puppy for $40. Brown told her that he intended on using the pup for hunting ducks, and if it worked out, he'd be back for more. The defense attorney pleaded with the judge to get Brown treatment for chronic depression and for what one psychiatrist described as the worst case of drug addiction she had ever seen. Despite this and the apology given by Brown, the judge said he'd be given no leniency and mentioned that his parents had already paid over $100,000 on treatments for his drug addictions to no avail. During Brown's sentencing, the judge had this to say: "Those images I watched, I will never forget. The cruelty, the sadism you exhibited is simply shocking. The part that frightened me most about the videos is that you produced them in the first place. That tells me you wanted to go back and watch them again. A trophy, if you will, of your behavior. You watched with friends and laughed." The judge sentenced Brown to the maximum sentence of 28 years in Nevada State Prison. He will be eligible for parole after serving a little over 11 years.
Sick fuck, dude. A literal sick fuck.
On Sunday, June 8th, 2008, A man by the name of Tomohiro Kato drove a 2-ton rental truck into a crowd of people on a busy street in the Akihabara district of Tokyo, Japan. Akihabara is known for its many electronic shops that range from small booths to large business-run stores. In recent years, the district has also become popular with anime and manga fans for its wide selection of merchandise and its variety of stores such as maid and manga cafes. On Sundays, the main street that runs through the district is closed to vehicle traffic from 13 to 1800 hours, and the street becomes filled with people who browse the many shops. Tomohiro Kato took advantage of this event, and after driving through a red light, plowed the large rental truck into a group of people at an intersection that crosses through the closed street, killing 3 and injuring 2. As crowds formed to help those that were injured, Tomohiro Kato jumped out of the truck and began stabbing people, killing 4 more and injuring another 8. Police eventually chased Kato down an alleyway after one officer witnessed him stabbing a woman. After a short standoff, Kato dropped his knife and was subdued by the police. 20 minutes before the attack, Kato posted messages from his mobile phone to a website and revealed his state of mind and intentions for the attack with messages like, "I will kill people in Akihabara. I don't have a single friend and I won't in the future. I'll be ignored because I'm ugly. I'm lower than trash because at least the trash gets recycled." He also made reference to another stabbing spree. After police dug further, they found messages of Kato talking about using a vehicle to run people over until it became inoperable, and then using a knife to continue his attack on foot. A day before the massacre, Tomohiro Kato sold his personal computer and some software to the shops in the Akihabara district in order to make enough money to rent the truck used in the attack. When they questioned him on why he committed such a heinous crime, Kato explained his motive was to vent his pent-up anger at society and demonstrate to all his tormentors, including people he claimed had been harassing him in an internet forum, of the consequences of their actions. The defense argued that Kato was not of sound mind after an abusive childhood, and that recent harassment at work and in an online forum he frequented had pushed him over the edge. The prosecution, however, believed that Tomohiro Kato was sane after a psychiatric test was done on him, and mentally competent enough to know the magnitude of what he was about to do. The Tokyo District Court ruled in favor of the prosecution, saying that Kato's actions had been meticulously planned. The district court's ruling stated that Kato drove past the intended crime scene 3 times before he was able to launch his attack. In act of hesitation, it suggested that he was aware of the gravity of what he was about to do. After pleading guilty to his crimes in 2010, Tomohiro Kato was eventually sentenced to death by hanging on March 24, 2011. On February 2, 2015, the Supreme Court rejected an appeal from Tomohiro Kato and his defense team to have his sentence reduced and the death penalty removed. Tomohiro Kato is still waiting on death row to this day.
What do you think is going to happen?
So you find the defendant guilty of murder in the 2nd degree?
Yes.
Is that unanimous?
Yes.
Eric Smith was only 14 years old when he was given a sentence of 9 years to life in prison. Smith had been convicted of murdering 4-year-old Derek Roby. But before his arrest, many residents in Savona, New York, thought it might have been the work of an evil adult.
Late in the afternoon, the body of Derek Roby was found. It was just a brutal, brutal killing.
When police found Derek, they discovered that he had been lured into a wooded area not far from his home, strangled and beaten with rocks.
When this terrible thing was done, I think everybody, including myself, thought it was an adult. And how could anybody do such a terrible, terrible thing?
But Smith had walked into the police command center 4 days after the murder, offering to help police solve the crime. Smith said that he had seen Derek that day with a white t-shirt on, holding a lunch bag. Investigators felt like Smith knew something, but didn't realize the killer was sitting right in front of them. Then 2 days after Derek Roby's funeral, Smith confessed.
Grandpa! Grandpa!
Yeah. I was there. I was there when my grandson...
I'm pretty sure this is something that's right up your alley. This is like interesting psychology stuff.
It was terrible.
Investigators and community members tried to understand why a 13-year-old boy would do such a thing. They learned that Smith had a history of being picked on as a young child. His bright red hair and freckles made him a target for bullies.
I don't know why he did it. I asked him why he did it. His words almost verbatim were, I don't know. I just saw this kid, this blonde kid, and I wanted to hurt him.
That is so fucked up, dude.
After he was convicted and sentenced, Smith was sent to Brookwood Juvenile Detention Center.
Love you, Eric.
Love you, Eric.
Love you, honey.
When Eric Smith was sentenced, was there a sense, now we can get on with our lives?
You hear the 9 years to life. And I think back then, everybody was focusing on the life side of it.
For Derek Roby's parents, Smith's prison sentence did not give them the closure they had expected. They were forced to deal with the harsh reality that their son's killer would be eligible for parole beginning in 2002.
Decide that, well, now he's done his time and we're gonna let him go.
It scares the hell out of me.
In 2002, Smith's parole was denied. But every 2 years, Smith appeared in front of the parole board, hoping to prove that he had changed and was no longer a danger to society. The frequent hearings took a toll on Derek's parents, who were forced to relive the horrors of their son's killing.
Must have felt like a weight hanging right over your head.
Yes. There's all of these really happy times that are supposed to happen throughout your life, but there's always that.
In 2009, as Smith approached his 30s, he said he had changed in an interview with WENY-TV.
Say to him is, I'm not the same person. There's not a day that goes by in some way, shape, or form that I'm like forced to remember what I did. I'm automatically thinking I killed Derek and the pain that I caused Dale and Dorothy and Roby.
In 2010, the parole board turned him down again, but as the years went by, clinical forensic psychologist Joni Johnston says he seemed to be changing.
Passion from him for other people. So I'm seeing a little bit of hope from him.
Years passed, and the parole board didn't budge, until October 2021, when his parole was granted. But Smith could not be released just yet. He still needed to find approved housing.
Smith, who gained national attention almost 3 decades ago for killing a 4-year-old, has been set free.
On February 1st, 2022, after spending 28 years behind bars, Eric Smith walked out of prison.
Why, after so many years, they decided to give him a chance? And that's fine, you know, for him and his family.
Smith has moved to Queens, New York, and says he has plans for his future.
I want to, get married, raise a family, hold down, a job, pursue the American dream.
Smith said,
yeah. It's not like the kid that you killed had any, dreams or ambitions or anything. Jesus. Pure evil, dude. Pure fucking evil. Oh my god. What? Sailors are forced to feed each other to the giant crab on the ship? What the hell? Killed for kebab meat? What the fuck? Oh, we gotta watch this. What the hell?
This case takes place in Blackpool, England, on the 1st
Oh
of
boy, here we
November
go.
2003. Charlene Downs was a 14-year-old girl who lived in Blackpool with her mother, father, brother, and 2 sisters. The life of Charlene is a rather tragic one, and one that is hard to listen to, especially for those who have experienced SA. It seems that she never really had a chance in life, but we shall get into that later. An old close friend of Charlene who knew her very well described her as a lovely and caring girl. However, he said that when she was around 12 years old, her personality changed. She became more reckless and rebellious. Charlene's older sister is named Rebecca. At the time of this story taking place, she was 16 years of age. Out of all of the siblings, it's reported that Charlene and Rebecca were the closest and considered each other to be best friends. Rebecca moved out of the family home when she was 14 years old and moved into a house that was owned by a 50-year-old man. Rebecca has claimed that she and this 50-year-old man were not in a relationship. However, many who knew her at the time have stated that this is untrue, and that she was indeed
We're probably
in a
gonna check this one out,
relationship
too.
with this
This
older
looks
man.
crazy.
Despite moving out, Rebecca and Charlene still remained very close.
Oh no.
Rebecca Downs had moved out of the family home as soon as she could. This was because her father, Bob Downs, was known to be incredibly violent.
I meant oh no as in the whole, like, supposedly they didn't have a relationship kind of thing. Like, I'm like, oh no, I don't know. It just seems really weird. You know.
If his children misbehaved, he would beat them, especially if he had had a couple of beers. Also, some very, very unsavory characters would often stay at the Downs' household as guests. But we shall talk about this in depth further on. Charlene, too, was a victim of Bob's anger and violence. In fact, the Downs family had moved from the West Midlands to Blackpool in 1999. This was because both Karen and Bob risked losing their children, as they had been investigated by the social services due to neglect, abuse, and multiple predators staying in the family's home. The authorities wanted to place the children into the care system. On the 1st of November 2003, Charlene awoke at around 10 AM. She got ready for the day and met her sister Rebecca. The two spent the day walking the streets, in the arcades, and in McDonald's. At around 6:45 PM that night, Charlene and Rebecca were walking towards Church Street, which is in Blackpool town centre. During this time, their mother, Karen Downs, was handing out leaflets for a local restaurant. The three happened to bump into each other and spoke briefly. Rebecca told Karen and Charlene that she was going home and asked Charlene if she wanted to come with her. However, Charlene said that she wanted to meet some friends instead. So, off Rebecca went alone. Karen walked with Charlene to a payphone where she called some of her friends, telling them to come and meet her. Karen stayed with Charlene until these friends arrived. Once the friends came, Karen told Charlene not to be home too late before going their separate ways. Now, what happened from this point on is a little unclear. Charlene and these friends spent some time together. She then met another friend and went to the Carousel Bar situated on the North Pier. Footage would be found much later of what appears to be Charlene walking with an unidentified woman at around 9 PM. The area in which Charlene is walking was known for the selling of illegal substances and is where working women were known to hang out. Charlene then meets other friends and hangs around the town centre before making her way towards an alley on Abingdon Street. Charlene was spotted around this alleyway at around 10 to 11 PM. It was the last time she would ever be seen again. When Charlene didn't make it home that night, Karen became concerned. However, she would later claim that she didn't worry too much. Charlene was 14, an age when teenagers are known to rebel, and put this down for the reason for her not coming home on time. Hours and days would pass. Charlene's parents didn't report Charlene missing for 2 whole days. When Karen phoned the police, she stated that Charlene had been missing since 8 o'clock on the Saturday, which was the 1st of November. She reported Charlene missing on the Monday. Whilst on the phone, the police told Karen that they would send some officers over shortly to gather some information in hopes of being able to locate Charlene quickly. On the phone call, you can hear Karen reply, "I can't, I need to go out soon," to which the dispatcher replies in a shocked voice, "Your daughter is missing and she is 14. You need to stay in and speak to the police." The police went over to the Downs' household and gathered information about Charlene, who she was with when she disappeared, what she was wearing, and where she was known to hang around. At first, the police put this case down as a runaway child. They assumed that Charlene would soon turn up once she ran out of money or missed her home, but this wasn't what happened. The police contacted the local media and told them not to publish the story of Charlene's disappearance, claiming that this was just another runaway story and she would be back soon. Although, after some more time passed with no leads, Charlene's mother contacted the media and asked them to publish an article along with a recent photograph of Charlene, which the media did. This is when Karen learned that the police told the media not to publish the story. The police received a large number of calls and tips from various people, all claiming to have seen Charlene in the days since her disappearance, one even claiming that they had seen her dead by a railway track. However, the vast majority of these tips did not lead to anything of significance. It soon became apparent that something was horribly wrong. When the police questioned Karen and Bob, they discovered that living with the family was a man named Ray Monroe. As I mentioned earlier, some very unsavory characters were living in the house, and Ray was one of them. Ray is a convicted predator. He was found guilty during the time he was living with the family, and 3 days after Charlene vanished, he was sentenced and jailed after he pleaded guilty to 3 counts of indecent assault and SAing a 6-year-old boy. Ray was jailed for 4 years after pleading guilty. Bob has always insisted
Just 4
that he had
years for
no
that
idea
shit?
that
What the
Ray
fuck?
had pleaded guilty to these horrific crimes, claiming that he only found out about his crimes when he was sat in court during Ray's trial, 3 days after Charlene had disappeared. The police began to suspect that perhaps Bob and Karen had a hand in Charlene's disappearance. Investigators also discovered the reason why the Downs family had moved from the West Midlands to Blackpool. When Charlene was just 9 years of age, she had accused a friend of Bob and Karen's of forcing themselves on her, among other things. When social services became involved, Bob and Karen moved and were somehow able to slip under the radar. If Charlene were to be found, or if she ever came back, it was decided by the authorities that she would be put into their care system. However, this was never to happen. Years went by with no trace of Charlene. It also became clear to the police that Charlene, along with many other young girls, would frequent some of the local kebab shops where they would do sexual favors for the owners and workers in return for money, cigarettes, and alcohol. It's reported that Charlene had over 100 contacts. Men all over Blackpool would pay Charlene to perform acts on them for money. Charlene was one of over 60 girls in Blackpool who were being exploited by the takeaway owners who operated in a ring, amongst various other predators. The youngest of these girls was 11. However, the police would keep this quiet until 2011. The next big development would occur in 2006. A man by the name of David Cassidy came forward to the police with some information. He stated that 2 men were responsible for the murder of Charlene, Mohammed Raveshi and Ayad Albatiki. Raveshi was a 55-year-old takeaway owner and a foster parent to many children. Albatiki was 28 years old and was business partners with Raveshi. David Cassidy claimed to have heard that Raveshi had a number of young girls hanging around his home and his takeaway. David also claimed that Raveshi had been found inside his bed with 3 young naked girls, one of them being Charlene Downs. He also said he had heard that Charlene had performed oral acts on Albatiki in exchange for money. David Cassidy was described as a businessman. He had a slot machine arcade and supplied slot machines to takeaways. He was very familiar with many of the owners. The
I've never
story
heard of
that
this
he
one.
told the police was that Charlene was a victim of exploitation, and that she had told Raveshi and Albertiki that she was going to the police to turn them in because she was sick of being used by them. David claimed that he received this information from Albertiki's brother. The story was that Albertiki had killed Charlene and acquired help from
Yeah, it's like his
Raveshi to
fucking idea.
dispose
He's
of the
like,
body. Based on these accusations from David Cassidy, Albertiki and Raveshi were detained and brought in. They were questioned and asked if they knew anything about the disappearance of Charlene Downs. The two men claimed that they had no idea who Charlene even was. Whilst the two men were detained by the authorities, the police went to Raveshi's home and installed a number of secret recording devices, along with a recording device in Raveshi's car. For 4 weeks, the police listened in on private conversations. A total of 52 tapes were made over the course of the 4 weeks, and Detective Sergeant Jan Besant was the officer who volunteered to transcribe them. For 6 hours a day for almost a year, she listened to the tapes and tried to make sense of them. The recording devices in Raveshi's home were planted right near the television set, so static was picked up. This resulted in the audio being extremely poor quality. It's important to note that Jan had no qualifications to make her an expert in transcribing poor quality audio and had no knowledge of linguistic analysis. When speaking about what she heard in the tapes, Jan said, "In the first few tapes, clearly they were shocked and worried and panicking. The first thing they talk about is this murder inquiry." In the recordings, Jan heard the two men talking about a burial place and big bones. A small piece of the transcript is on screen now. In one of the recordings, Jan believes she hears Raveshi say, "I can't cope. I'm so worried, and you were the one who killed her." Raveshi then asks, "Why did you kill her?" Albertiki replies saying, "You're being stupid if you thought we'd ever release her." Albertiki was also heard asking how long fingerprints last, to which Raveshi responds, "There is nothing left of her. She was here, she died, there really is nothing." Jan also claimed to hear the two men joking about how they had minced up Charlene's body, turned her into kebab meat, and served her flesh to unwitting customers. The two men were arrested and charged with the murder of Charlene Downs.
Jesus.
The police spoke with Charlene's parents, Bob and Karen. They informed them of the arrest and told them they were 99% certain that Charlene had been murdered, although they didn't actually tell them about the way in which they believed she had been killed. The Downs family would find out when the media began running stories about the murder of Charlene, stating rumours that she had been chopped up and sold as kebab meat. Before telling the Downs family about these disturbing rumours, they had instead fed the media this information for them to distribute. This, of course, was an incredible shock to the family. It goes without saying that the headlines gripped the public. The story of a teenage girl being turned into kebab meat and being cannibalized by unwitting customers spread quickly. The trial would begin in May of 2006. The audio was presented to the court, with a transcription going alongside, informing the court of what the men were saying, along with their witness, David Cassidy. Raveshi owned a number of properties in Blackpool. In his main residence, the investigators looked for any DNA evidence or blood that could prove that Charlene was either there or had been killed there. The prosecution team showed evidence and photographs of the home, showing that a number of floorboards had been replaced very recently, along with other renovations to the house. Investigators had also noted that the place was unusually clean, like it had been scrubbed. No DNA evidence was found that belonged to Charlene. Albertiki and Raveshi's defense team managed to convince the judge that David's testimony was merely hearsay and was not reliable, pointing to the fact that David had a long criminal history. The audio quality of the recordings was also contested. The defense argued that it was too unclear to be a reliable piece of evidence. The judge agreed that the transcript could only be cited as an interpretation and not as fact. The defense team also pushed that the recordings and the transcripts did not match up, and that Jan wanted to solve the case so badly that she inserted what she wanted to hear into the transcriptions and were made to fit the narrative. For instance, the words burial place were mistranscribed. What was likely said was Paul's place. A tracker was placed on Raveshi's car. When the police checked to see where Raveshi had gone since the tracker had been placed on his car, they confirmed that he had actually visited his friend Paul. No such burial site was ever visited by Raveshi. However, what is rather odd is that both men were indeed talking about the disposal of big bones. Linguistic experts later confirmed that they were talking about bones, and were joking about mincing somebody up in the kebab meat. Both men denied any wrongdoing and proclaimed their innocence. There was no evidence that either of the men had ever met Charlene. Then, a very damning piece of evidence was presented that shattered the prosecution's claims. Investigators had wired up David and gotten him to speak to Albertiki's brother again. Albertiki's brother being the one who told David about this whole story. David did as he was asked and spoke with Albertiki's brother about the alleged murder of Charlene. In this recording, the brother this time claimed that he had no idea what David was talking about. At the end of the recording, David says to the brother, "I must have gotten the wrong end of the stick." With these holes in the prosecution's evidence, the case fell through and resulted in a hung jury, meaning that the jury could not all collectively agree whether or not the two men were innocent or guilty. So, they were released.
What?
The Downs family were outraged. They believed that the two men were guilty of murdering Charlene, and they still do. However, it was discovered that the two men knew some of the jury members, and so a retrial was set for 2008.
Wow.
But the Crown Prosecution Service found no evidence against the two men, and so this retrial was called off. Because it was claimed that the two men were falsely accused and falsely imprisoned, they both were given £250,000 each in compensation. Although, both men faced further accusations following the trial, with Albertiki being accused of SAing 5 young women, and Ravishi being accused of abusing a young girl. Neither men were found guilty of any of these crimes. Following the trial, the police were investigated for what was seen as their major mishandling of evidence. It was found that many of the officers were untrained, incompetent, and held strong biases towards the two men. Because of Jan's alleged misinterpretations of the audio, she was ordered to resign following this investigation. In 2007, the police finalized a report about the grooming of young girls by a number of takeaway owners and workers. However, as I said earlier, this only came to light in 2011. In this report, it was said that Charlene had performed oral in exchange for food. The number of girls mentioned in this report was around 60. However, this could be a lot higher. Many of these girls were incredibly vulnerable, coming from abusive homes and many in the care system. Now, let's delve a little deeper into the Downs family. A week after the trial had ended, Karen took a knife and stabbed Bob. Bob survived and refused to press charges against Karen, stating that she was just under a lot of pressure due to the trial collapsing. Rumors had been circulating that Bob had been allowing men to have relations with his children in exchange for money. Bob was described as an alcoholic. One theory was that he allowed his children to be used in exchange for money. On many occasions, convicted predators had been found living or staying in Karen and Bob's house. Bob would often go out drinking and invite random men back to the house for more drinks. Allow me to quickly go through some very strange allegations made against Bob and Karen. A leaked court document from 1989 shows that the Downs family had been investigated by the West Midlands Police and the Social Services. This was because a convicted predator had been found to be giving their 3-year-old daughter Emma rides in his car. In 1999, it was alleged that some of Bob's friends engaged in inappropriate behavior with some of the Downs' children. In April of 2001, Charlene told a social worker that one of Bob's friends had touched her inappropriately. In August of 2001, Charlene was found by a social worker lying in bed with a man in his 60s. This incident occurred in the Downs' home in Blackpool. Charlene was then later seen counting some money. And of course, before Charlene vanished, the man I mentioned earlier, Ray Monroe, was living with the family. It's reported that many people saw Charlene sitting on Ray's lap inside the Downs' family home. At least 16 males who have committed various offences involving children have had access to the Downs' family home in the West Midlands and in Blackpool over a 15-year period. It's entirely possible that it's more than 16. I do have to make this clear, these are all allegations. Although it is confirmed that Charlene attended a health clinic 12 times, it was noted that she had bruises to her private area on multiple occasions. Karen was aware of these visits to the clinic, however she claimed that she never thought much of it. Charlene's blood was also found in the Downs' household. However, this is something that can be expected, as of course she did live there. I've also seen some reports that claim that the Downs family did not fully cooperate with the police during the beginning of the investigation. The theory is that Bob allowed men to come back to his home, where he would allow these men to have access to his children in exchange for money, so he could buy more booze. One of these men may have either deliberately or accidentally killed Charlene, and the parents helped to cover up her death to save themselves. Some people think that Bob may have killed Charlene in a fit of rage. Both Bob and Karen deny having any part in the disappearance of Charlene. A number of other suspects have been questioned by the police over the years. However, nothing has ever come of it. The most recent suspect is a man named Nigel Lloyd. It's said that Nigel knew the Downs family and Charlene. Nigel is a 51-year-old convicted predator. He was found guilty of attacking 2 young girls between 2001 and 2003 in Blackpool, which was around the time when Charlene was walking the streets. There are also some rumours that the two spoke on the night that Charlene went missing. Nigel's flat also overlooked the alley near the takeaways where Charlene was known to frequent. Nigel was recently arrested and questioned. However, nothing ever came of this either. So, what exactly happened to Charlene Downs? Do you think Albertiki and Raveshi were responsible? Although the recordings were somewhat debunked, many parts of the audio are still very suspicious. Regardless,
yeah, I'm still trying to
this
process
case
what the
takes
fuck,
place
dude.
in Glasgow, Scotland, during the month of April 2011. Linda Spence was a 27-year-old woman who presented herself as a self-employed financial advisor. She ran a mortgage broking company and a property rental business in Glasgow. Despite these rather impressive and prestigious-sounding titles, she was in fact a fraud. She had been bankrupt, was in serious debt to some very unsavory individuals, and was frequently involved in fraudulent and criminal activity. The police were very well aware of Linda. In 2011, they were investigating a number of fraud cases that were linked to her. She also reportedly was in a relationship with an Albanian criminal, a man who was involved in crimes such as human trafficking. Through these activities, Linda became associated with 2 Scottish criminal males, Philip Wade and Colin Coates. These 2 men were in the business of dealing illegal substances. Colin Coates was an incredibly strange character. He was born on the 3rd of September 1970 and was brought up in Glasgow. At around 16, he pursued a career in computers and began working for the Civil Aviation Authority. Those who knew Colin saw him as somewhat of a computer geek. At some point, he decided that he wanted to try and make some serious cash, so he pursued a career in investment banking and worked for a number of companies as a systems administrator assisting traders on large projects. He became incredibly wealthy and was earning around £200,000 a year in the 90s. Colin met and married a woman named Angela, and the couple went on to have 3 children together. As cliche as it sounds, Colin had what many would describe as a perfect life. However, the first signs of what Colin would become occurred in 1999, when he was arrested by police in London after attacking his wife. The couple lived in London for some time, but eventually decided to move back to Glasgow, where Colin began working as a property developer, and he did incredibly well in this too. He would often brag to his friends about his success, and would eventually decided to move back to Glasgow, where Colin began working as a property developer. He did incredibly well in this too. He would often brag to his friends about his success, and would tell them that he never failed at anything, although this arrogance would soon get the better of him. His life spiraled out of control with a descent into alcohol and illegal substances.
Oh boy.
With these addictions, he became increasingly more violent. He got into an argument with a man over football and ended up attacking him. His addictions caused great trouble in his family life, and in 2007, Colin and his wife Angela broke up. Not long after the breakup, he attacked Angela's sister in the street. As he was beating her up, an old man tried to stop him, but Colin turned around and attacked the old man too. He was also charged with ramming Angela's car, among other incidents of extreme road rage. But whenever the police were pursuing him, he would flee the country to his lavish villa in Costa Blanca. In 2010, Colin was arrested after attacking a passenger on a plane whilst shouting, "I'm Colin Coates, I'm a gangster." He then threatened to blow up the plane and throw acid in the faces of people's children. It was around this time that he became involved with organized crime and became friends with a known dealer named Philip Wade. These two men then became associated with Linda Spence. Colin gave Linda a number of short-term loans amounting to a few £1,000s. By 2010 or early 2011, he considered that she owed him around £80,000. Eventually, Linda presented Colin with an investment project at Stansted Airport, an investment project that Colin became incredibly interested in. She promised him returns in the millions, but things that sound too good to be true often are, and this was no exception. Colin invested a large amount of money in Linda's project. It soon became clear to Colin that this investment opportunity was an incredibly elaborate scam to keep Colin calm, as she was unable to repay his loans. By the end of March 2011, Colin knew for sure that Linda had scammed him, and he was absolutely outraged.
Yeah.
Colin was rather egotistical and believed himself to be incredibly smart.
He wouldn't let that shit down.
He was to some degree. The thought of being scammed out of thousands of pounds was a huge blow to his ego and made him look like a fool to his criminal friends. Colin's friend Philip Wade had also been scammed by Linda in the past. At some point, Philip had been arrested and was on remand. He had contacted Linda and asked her if she could help him. She received £700 from Philip so she could buy presents for his children whilst he was locked up, but Linda spent all of the money on herself. Colin decided to take action. He acquired the help of his friend Philip and planned to kidnap Linda and force her to hand over the money. On the 14th of April 2011, they carried out their plan. They found Linda, detained her against her will, and forced her into a car. They then took her to an attic of a flat and bound her to a chair with tape and put tape over her mouth to stop her from screaming and to restrict her breathing. They also covered her eyes so she couldn't see anything. It was in this building that Linda was subjected to horrific torture for 14 days. Colin brought with him a bag filled with various tools and appliances that could be used to inflict unbearable pain. He essentially brought with him a torture kit. Colin began to viciously beat Linda, punching her numerous times in the face, and put out lit cigarettes on her skin, whilst demanding to know where the money was. The men stole her iPhone and SIM card, and used these to message her family and friends so they would not arouse suspicion. During the 14 days that Linda was held captive, both Colin and Philip needed to attend other matters, so they hired two small-time criminals named David Parker and Paul Smith to keep an eye on Linda. Their job was to guard her between the lengthy torture sessions, so she would have no chance of escape. It's unclear as to what Linda told the men. However, the torture would soon ramp up. Over the days, Linda was repeatedly struck with a golf club and was not allowed to leave the chair she was tied to. She was forced to sit in her own waste. It is believed that Colin was the main instigator in the torture of Linda. Colin had brought with him a smoothing iron that is used on clothing. He used this device to burn various parts of Linda's exposed skin. He would hold it down on her skin for prolonged periods of time. Later on, Colin grabbed a pair of shears out of his bag and cut off one of Linda's fingers and her thumb. Colin then used blunt instruments to shatter her kneecaps, and with a pair of pliers, he crushed every single one of Linda's toes. For days, Linda endured such cruelty, being beaten with blunt instruments, being horrifically burned with a hot iron, having multiple cigarettes put out on her flesh, and being alone and terrified, unable to scream for help. All the while, her friends and family were receiving messages from her phone, so they were none the wiser as to what was really happening. On the 26th of April 2011, Colin met with an associate of Linda's, a man named John Glenn. Linda owed John around £180,000, but she was making efforts to pay him back. It is believed that around £50,000 was repaid. The two men met up and conversed. Colin told John that the money Linda had repaid him was actually his money, and he wanted it back. Colin then told John that he had something to show him. He proceeded to pull out a plastic bag from his pocket that was scrunched up and wrapped around something. He then opened the bag and showed John a severed human finger. The finger was, of course, Linda's. Colin then pulled out an A4 size book of records from Linda and said that he didn't believe John had only received around £50,000 from her. Colin then said, "I've gone over this twice, and people are having their thumbs cut off. Don't tell lies. I want my money, and I want it first, and if I don't get it from you, I'm going to kill you." 2 days after this meeting, Colin decided that it was time to end Linda's life. Her body at this point would have been in a horrific state. As Linda sat tied in the same chair she had been forced to sit in, Colin taped her mouth shut and held her nose until she stopped panicking and struggling. After this, Colin and Philip got to work disposing of her body. They cut her up into numerous pieces and removed her head. After this, they began to meticulously clean every part of the flat to ensure that absolutely no DNA evidence could be recovered. They then transported Linda's body to an unknown location and disposed of her, likely burying her underground. Linda's physical absence eventually made her family and friends incredibly concerned. Her worried parents, Patricia and Jim, reported her missing on the 13th of May, and appeals were made to the public for any information.
It's Father's Day this Sunday. Please let us know you're safe and well. If anyone has information that can help Linda, please contact me.
Linda's family made several appeals to the public, hoping for someone to come forward with the information that would lead to the safe return of their daughter. Due to Linda's incredibly shady business deals, her theory was that she had fled the country for her own safety. It then came out that Linda was actually a police informant and had been gathering intelligence on Albanian criminals for the police. As the police looked further into Linda's disappearance, one name popped up a number of times: Colin Coates. The police suspected that he could have played a part in her disappearance. They suspected that she could be dead. Colin became a prime suspect in the investigation, and as a result of this, he was placed under surveillance. But when the detectives tried to dig deeper into the case, they found that witnesses were too fearful to speak out against him. A few months later, on the 16th of August, Colin met up again with John Glenn, the man I mentioned earlier, who was shown the severed finger of Linda and was threatened by Colin. Well, Colin threatened him yet again to pay back the money, and John, fearing for his life, agreed to pay him back as to not anger him further. However, after this meeting, John Glenn went right to the police and told them everything he knew about the disappearance of Linda and the severed finger. The police continued to gather more evidence, and on the 28th of October, 6 months after Linda was murdered, officers smashed their way into the flat that she was killed in. The flat had almost been cleaned spotless, but a drop of Linda's blood was found on the bathroom floor, and the chair that she had been tormented in was found in the garden burnt. David Parker and Paul Smith, the two small-time criminals that were hired to watch over Linda, were arrested. The two agreed to spill everything they knew and agreed to give evidence for the prosecution in return for lesser sentences. They told the police all about the torture and murder of Linda. Philip and Colin were arrested and charged with murder. The two denied any involvement in the murder, but there was strong evidence against them. The police looked through mobile phone records of Colin and Philip and were able to place them at the scene of the crime over the 14 days that Linda would have been tortured. After the arrest of Colin, some rather strange footage of him was shared to the public.
See, I'll do the wetsuit and the Sean Connery. I have the booster in my section. Right? I went up to drop off some inspiration, right?
What the fuck?
And as I went to drop off the inspiration, she handed me something back. So I went and left for a few hours with my mate Mark, got absolutely tarted. Turned up at the door later on. She who must not be named was there, right? That's when I turned up. And I turned up just in a pair of stockings. Young men for extortion, abduction, tying up, only during funerals or mitzvahs. Call 1-800-SUPER-MONEY. See you. Bye.
The police tried to search for Linda's body, but neither Colin or Philip would tell them anything. The trial would soon begin, and it came out that Smith and Parker had both been paid £10,000 to babysit Linda after her abduction. Paul Smith claimed that he had been hoodwinked into providing a safe house where Philip and Colin could keep her. He claimed Linda was alive when he last saw her, but was too scared of Colin to let her go free. He went on to say, "I hope that Linda's body is found for her family's sake." During the trial, Colin's past was brought up. The prosecutor said, "You were a wealthy man. What happened?" Colin replied by saying, "There was a breakdown in my marriage which had devastating effects. Access was stopped to my 3 kids, and I took that in a bad way." He told the jury that he drank heavily after the breakup and began taking illegal substances. He claimed that these things absolutely ruined him as a person. Through the trial, both Colin and Philip proclaimed their innocence, but the jury didn't believe them. Both men were found guilty of the murder of Linda. Colin was sentenced to life with a minimum term of 33 years in prison, and Philip was sentenced to life with a minimum term of 31 years. The judge described Colin as a highly ruthless and dangerous man who had been the driving force behind Linda's torture and murder. The judge said, "You are clearly a man of some intelligence who attained a measure of some success, but you are a manipulative, devious, and cruel person. You will not necessarily be released after 30 years, and may indeed never be released." It's reported that neither of the killers showed any emotion as they were handed down their life sentences. Both Parker and Smith admitted to holding Linda hostage, and they were jailed for 11 years each. Following their sentences, Colin and Philip tried to appeal, but these appeals were rejected swiftly. Over the years, the police have searched for Linda's body, but they have been unsuccessful. But 12 years later, in April of 2023, Colin admitted to killing Linda. He wrote a letter for Linda's mother, and in this letter he wrote, I feel compelled to clarify some background for Patricia Spence with the plight of finding her daughter's remains. Linda's mother's animus towards me is to be expected. I tortured and killed her daughter. He goes on to say that he will assist the police in finding Linda's remains, and he gave them a location to search so her family can give her a proper burial and give them some closure. In this letter, Colin went on to say, I hope that when the police examine this field, they are successful in returning Linda's remains to her mother. I did not set out to do this, but I did, and I did it alone. I presented Philip Wade with a dead body. Recently, I have apologized to him, but he has not accepted, as I'm sure also any apology to Linda's mum would be met with a similar response.
Fuck, dude. The Beast of Jersey? Yeah, these are just getting really crazy now. Alright, I'll be back. Give me a few minutes. We'll probably play some Red Dead to finish off the night.
Well, hello.
Ah, Mr. Marston, how are you?
Good, Miss McFarland. How are you?
I'm well. Would you mind riding with me to Armadillo? I've got to get some supplies and I could do with the company.
Of course.
You can take the reins. It wouldn't do for a terrifying bounty hunter such as yourself to be seen driven around by a woman. Hop on up, Mr. Marston. You're looking much better, considering you were almost buzzard food a couple days ago.
I have you to thank for that, miss.
So do tell me, have you needlessly risked your life since we last spoke?
No, miss, I have not.
Well, that's a relief. Perhaps there's hope for you yet.
I wouldn't bet on it.
Oh, there's always hope, Mr. Marston. You can't be a rancher in this kind of country if you don't believe that.
Admirable attitude, miss.
I suppose so. I can't think of any other way to stay sane, to be frank. What about you? Have you ever given up hope altogether?
Hope hasn't really entered into it. It's not really something I think about.
A peculiar outlook. I can't really say I understand you.
I can't always say I do either.
Oh, don't be so deliberately enigmatic.
I'm not, miss.
Yes, you are. You are being deliberately obscure as a substitute for having a personality.
I just know there are two theories to arguing with women, and neither one works.
I'm not even going to dignify that gibberish with a response. I think it's kind of funny I found you dying on the side of the road and now you're driving me into town.
You have a strange sense of humor.
Well, you must admit, it's an unusual start to a friendship.
I didn't realize we were friends, Miss McFarland.
Oh, please. Now who's being funny? Listen, I know that business with Williamson is your business, but I don't know. You've been good to us, and I don't think you're a bad man. A little stupid, perhaps, but not rotten. I just worry about you gallivanting around these parts like you're some kind of deranged bounty hunter. Like Paul always says, don't go waking snakes.
I appreciate your concern for us lesser mortals, Miss McFarland. I really do. And if there was any other way out, I'd take it. I can assure you of that.
You never did tell me where you live.
I have a small holding up in Great Plains.
A farmer? Yeah, and I'm the Queen of England. And at what point during your day of hunting down outlaws do you find time to raise chickens?
Only been at it 3 years or so. I guess I'm kind of new to it.
You're telling me? So who's looking after this farm of yours right now?
Uncle. Well, he's not my uncle, as far as I know. Just an old dog who's as lazy as a lizard on a hot day. He kind of fell in laboring under the delusion that age brings wisdom.
Sounds like the perfect person to leave in charge of your entire livelihood.
We go way back, and I didn't have a lot of choice.
I'd be getting back there if I was you.
That's what I'm trying to do, miss.
So this is Armadillo. Manhattan it is not, but it does okay for us. Most important thing for you right now is getting yourself into Dr. Johnson's office to purchase some medicine. The first one's on me.
Thank you, miss. I'll pay you back.
I'm sure you shall. The doc's a good fellow. He saved your life, so be polite to him. Meet me in front of the general store when you're done.
How would Armadillo get by without me?
How are you, friend?
I got stock of them electric belts. You need to lose weight.
Well, thanks for driving me. It was nice to be able to enjoy the view for once, and a little company never hurts now and again.
You're more than welcome, miss. Least I can do. Thank you for the medicine.
Why don't you have a look around Armadillo? You can always take a stagecoach back to the ranch later.
I might just do that. Travel safely, miss.
Try not to get yourself shot. I won't be around to save you this time.
Never lost a single piece of merchandise. Help Mulatto employees is why.
Look out, mister.
Look where you're going, Park.
Whoever built
That John Marston used to be a hired killer for the Jews, you know?
We live in times of great change.
Careful, Park.
No! Really?
Not so fast, partner.
Oh, excuse me. You know, they're planning on building a rail junction up ways. Hey! Oh!
Excuse me.
Hey, You got a visitor.
Shut up, you. Now, what you want?
My name's John Marston. You wanted to speak to me.
I did?
Apparently so.
Why?
I guess because we're both in the business of the law.
You that fella from the train company?
No, I'm from Fort Mercer.
Fort Mercer? You them one of them Williamson boys.
Calm down.
Go on, shoot him, mister. Shoot him.
Come on, what? You getting keep with me, boy?
What's going on here?
I got me one of them Williamson boys.
I got me one of them idiots who give marshals a bad name.
Jonah, put your gun down. You must be the man from Blackwater.
Yes, sir. Listen, that dog ain't too bright, but he seems loyal.
Jonah, get out of here for a minute.
Yes, sir, Mr. Johnson, sir. And you. Oh, I done seen enough of your hide around here, friend.
I think there's some school children down the way you can go and frighten.
Oh, hardy fucking har.
What are you doing here, Mr. Marston? Apart from frightening my deputies.
I'm here to capture or kill Bill Williamson.
Okay.
Can you help me?
He's outside my jurisdiction. He's in the next county. Of course, Bill Williamson and his boys have tended to keep themselves away from my town.
So you're happy to have him out there?
Well, I ain't happy, but I also ain't suicidal. My job is to keep this town safe, not clean up all of these 3 counties. It's hard enough around here.
You know, I hear you speak, and suddenly I'm reminded of how some of the people I respected most in my life had a problem with authority. What's wrong with you?
Well, I'm sure you and your fine friends have enjoyed spending your time running around pursuing noble causes. My cause is to keep this town from turning into a living hell for the folks who live here. Whole world has problems, mister, and I'm here doing what I can.
Why? What's happening?
Right now, I got the railway, the people who pay my salary, trying to get me to turn a blind eye to them burning down settlements up there. I got a bunch of cattle rustlers out near Box Canyon needs shutting down. Not forgetting the gang that keeps murdering homesteaders out in the back country. And I got a bunch of hoods over in the saloon, drunk, threatening to shoot up the whole town. That's all I got today. But it's early yet. Give me a couple more days. There'll be more.
All right, tell you what. Let's go deal with them hoods in the saloon. Then we'll discuss Williamson.
Okay, boy. You're a persistent little cuss, ain't you?
Only when things matter.
Let's head over to...
I just need to put my dish away. Oh, that is very red.
The saloon.
So who we looking for?
A bunch of two-bit hoodlums, led by this fella called Walton. Goddamn road agents who prey on the stages coming in and out of town. Drivers and armadillos spend more time with their hands in the air than on the reins these days.
And you're happy to let them drink in your saloon?
Happy? No. But the way I figure it, better they're carousing in there than out robbing decent folks.
That's an interesting approach to law enforcement.
I do what I can, Mr. Marston. We ain't the government.
This dumb rat bastard now. Let's follow him. See what kind of hole he crawls into.
Let's go, Marston. I've been after that son of a bitch for months. He spotted you. Stay on him, boy. Come on.
Walton's as bad as you say he is. Why don't we just beef him now while we got the chance?
Because that ain't how the law works.
Is that right, Marshal?
And alive, he can still talk.
Doesn't sound like he's a man to be reasoned with.
He ain't. But a few days of my hospitality and he'll be telling me what I need to know. Walton's gang's been growing fast.
Outlawing's easy money for easy work.
Cholla Springs, Gap Tooth Ridge, these boys get around. Walton's a start, but there's plenty more where he came from.
Yeah!
He's headed for Pleasant's house. Let's stop so we can get a better look.
Looks like we got company, boys.
Damn! Take cover! We'll work our way up this hill.
Oh, you shoot better than my mama.
Take cover behind that wagon to your right.
Marston, take that bastard behind the crate.
Who's next?
Head for the crate, boy.
I'll cover you.
That fool behind the rock is yours, Marston. I got you, boy. Make a move for that boulder. Look out! There's one behind the outhouse.
Good. Now move up to the outhouse, Marston.
This is probably gonna hurt.
I've dropped 100 fools like you!
Stay close.
I got backing answers. You hear me? That's Walton inside the house. Let's see if we can take him alive. Walton's escaping. Take him down, boy. I'll be back for you two later. Walton, your killing days are over. It'll be trial and the ropes for you.
Not a bad shot, Mr. Marston. Why don't you check in with me next time you're in town?
I don't want to be no policeman, Marshal.
Nor did I, my friend. I can promise you that. I'll see you soon, Mr. Marston.
Yeah. Whoa.
treasure here. You want map? I retire. Here, take map. You earn it.
Thanks, mister. I could use a little luck. I need it more than you now. Come on!
We meet again.
That right. Well, well. I swear, Pericles Tannerton enjoys pulling teeth way too much.
I hear they pay through the nose for raccoon meat.
My apologies, madam.
Bite your tongue.
I heard.
Blackwater just keeps on getting bigger. Damn.
Uh-huh.
Is that right? Well, well.
Do you want to make a lady?
No, thank you, my dear. No need for that, partner.
St. John's is more corrupt than the politicians in my country. Some folks don't know anything about money. Not like me. Hey, how you doing? Much obliged.
Alright, this is going to be it for now. Thank you guys for coming by again. I will probably be online tomorrow, probably later in the evening or so. Maybe a little bit in the morning. We'll see. But with that being said, I hope you guys all have a awesome